Hey everyone, welcome to episode 11 of Zafs Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. As you can tell this week, we're pulling another solo episode. I'm very excited today, as you can probably tell from the title that I'm going to call this, because I've been wanting to talk about this issue. I've been wanting to talk about hair loss for a long time now, and I would like to actually talk with guests, like with an expert on the show, about certain drugs and things coming out. And as you guys have probably seen in other videos, I do myself suffer from male pattern baldness. So it is a bit of a kind of an interest of mine, so to speak. So before I get into this week's video, I just want to do a couple of things. One, bit of a plug for the show. So if you guys are watching on YouTube, thank you all for tuning in. I really, really appreciate the support. If you haven't already, could you please like and subscribe to the channel? It really helps push that channel a little bit more, helps push out more videos, so on and so forth. So I'd really appreciate that support. If you are interested, I do have an Instagram and a TikTok where I do short form videos. I try to upload consistently throughout those forms. So if you could follow the Instagram and follow the TikTok as well, put a like, if you like the content. If you don't have to do it. It's up to you. The other thing, obviously, I have a Spotify and an iTunes. So if you're listening to this and you are following and you've given this a 5-star review, thank you so much. We've actually hit 17 5-star reviews on Spotify, and I've hit, I think, 2 or 3 5-star reviews on iTunes. So I really appreciate the support. And there was a guy who messaged me on Instagram saying that he really likes the podcast. Man, thank you so much. That was the kick in the ass that I needed. Not the kick in the ass that I needed, but it really does make me feel better about doing the podcast. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. So it's just little messages like that that make me feel better about doing the podcast. And the other thing I wanted to touch base on is I am by no means a doctor. I am not a medical professional in any way. This is what I am going to be talking about is purely entertainment. If you do require advice or any type of attention or information about male pattern baldness or anything related to just medical in general, please go make an appointment to see your local doctor, your local GP. Please go see a specialist. What I'm talking about is purely for entertainment purposes, and I just like talking about it. So, I'm probably going to make a mistake, and that's another reason why if someone's watching this and they know of an expert who'd be willing to come onto the show, I would love to have them on. Someone who I would really like to have on, who's probably not watching this at all, if I'm being quite honest, but I'd love to have him, is a guy called Kevin from Hair Cafe. I think a lot of people would like to talk to Derek from More Plates, More Dates, but that's probably going to be way, way into the future before he even looks at this podcast. But yeah, there'd be two I'd like to talk to, and any other I'd like to talk to an Australian. That way I can see, talk to them face to face. But yeah, just a little bit of house maintenance for now, just to kind of clear the air about certain things. Let's get straight into it. So as you can probably tell from the title, hair loss could be a thing of the past. Is there a cure around the corner? Now, there are a couple of drugs from what I seem to understand. And just so you guys know, actually, before I move forward, you're probably going to be wondering, where am I getting this information from? A lot of this information I actually do get from people like Kevin who read the scientific data and kind of break it down and give it to us in a language that I can understand. So if you are looking for a more detailed analysis about these drugs that I'm going to talk about, I would highly recommend that you look up Kevin from Hair Cafe. I would highly recommend, I don't know if Derek from More Plates, More Dates has actually spoken about this. I'm not 100% sure. So maybe check out his YouTube as well. Maybe he's put something there. And another person who's just kind of recently popped up onto my YouTube is a guy, I believe is called Fedy, Fedy. He's on YouTube. And he has some really interesting thoughts, and he kind of does like a bit of a breakdown as well with regards to, these types of drugs. So, look those guys up. That's kind of where I'm getting my information from. I definitely haven't sat down and read the scientific literature. I'm just kind of going, based off of things that I've read. Like I said, I haven't read the literature, but like just articles that I've read, YouTube videos that I've watched, and kind of basing my opinions on hopefully that those people have actually read the scientific articles and that they're right. But I don't believe that they would not read the articles and just kind of blatantly talk about bullshit. But anyway, that's where I'm getting my information from if anyone's critiquing. So moving forward with the podcast. So what are the two sort of drugs currently, they're not out at the moment, but they are currently being made. So there's two drugs. One of them is called piralutamide, and the other one is called GT20029, which is a huge mouthful. I hope they change the name of that because I don't know. That just sounds bad. They need to change. They need to change the name. So what are these drugs? So these drugs obviously are going to be made to try and treat hair loss. But before I think we can move forward and talk about those drugs, we need to kind of talk about what's currently on the market right now. And the current drugs that are on the market right now, which are considered to be the gold standard, is minoxidil, finasteride, dutasteride, more so finasteride than dutasteride. And I think some people, depending on who you talk to, do actually recommend using ketoconazole shampoo, and they probably recommend a bunch of other things. But I think your big two would be minoxidil and finasteride. And then I think worst case scenario is that they tell you to do a hair transplant. But I think, I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, so we don't really know, from what I seem to understand, we don't know how minoxidil works, but minoxidil was made as a blood pressure reducer, and for some reason that has a side effect of hair regrowth. So, which is nice, but can have some unwanted side effects. But from what I seem to understand, the safety profile is actually pretty good. You don't even need a prescription to go buy 5% minoxidil. So it's pretty safe from my opinion. I don't know 100%, but if you can buy it off the shelf, I can't see it being that bad. But like I said, don't take my word. Go talk to a doctor, okay, if you really are thinking about doing something like this. So yeah, minoxidil and then finasteride. Now, finasteride is definitely a prescription-based drug. So the way finasteride works, it actually inhibits 5-alpha reductase. So 5-alpha reductase is an enzyme in the body which transforms testosterone into DHT. So essentially what finasteride and dutasteride does. Now, finasteride is the gold standard. Dutasteride is is a lot stronger than finasteride. So that's why I think a lot of people go for finasteride. It's got a better safety profile. So what finasteride and dutasteride do is they reduce or inhibit 5-alpha reductase from turning testosterone into DHT. And DHT is pretty much one of the lead causes of male pattern baldness, and we know that for a fact. Okay, DHT is 100% part of the cycle when it comes to thinning hair and losing hair, and especially for males. So what's so special, I guess, about piralutamide and about GT20029? So finasteride and dutasteride kind of focus their attention on reducing the 5-alpha reductase enzyme. The problem with that is it can have some unwanted side effects. By reducing that enzyme or stopping that enzyme from transforming testosterone to DHT, essentially lowering DHT, which is a sex hormone from what I'm led to believe, can have some unwanted sexual side effects such as low libido, erectile dysfunction, right? Which is, for someone like me who's been losing hair in their early 20s, not an ideal thing, right? I don't really want to be taking a drug and, not being able to crack a bar. That's not ideal, especially for someone at my age. I would much rather lose my hair than have sexual dysfunction. Okay, so, and I think that's kind of stopped a lot of people from using the drug, from using finasteride, and especially when you start hearing things about post-finasteride syndrome. I'm not going to get into that. If people want to look into post-finasteride syndrome, please go look up those guys on YouTube or go and speak to a doctor. They have a much better in-depth analysis when it comes to that. I'm not going to touch that. But finasteride and dutasteride have a side effect profile, which essentially sexual side effect profile, which a lot of people don't want to take, and including myself, I'm a little bit skeptical about taking finasteride and dutasteride. But I have been thinking a lot lately that I'm actually going to try minoxidil, so I'm probably going to be trying that with some microneedling in the next maybe 2 to 3 weeks. We'll see how we go. So what makes piralutamide and GT20029 special? What makes that different to the current drugs that are on the market right now? So piralutamide is a drug which actually doesn't reduce DHT. It doesn't reduce or inhibit the 5-alpha reductase enzyme. What it does is it attaches, or it likes to consume probably not the best way to describe it, but it's a drug that binds to the AR receptor, which is the androgen receptor within the hair follicle. So by binding to the androgen receptor in the hair follicle, it's not giving DHT a receptor to bind to in the hair follicle. So in that sense, you don't really need to reduce DHT. You're just not giving DHT a place to attach itself to. So hopefully you're not reducing DHT. It's just kind of cycling through your body, but not attaching to your hair follicles, which is what you don't want to do. So from what I seem to understand, it's actually got a great safety profile. Looking at those guys on YouTube, or watching those guys on YouTube kind of break down I think it's on phase 2 trials, moving on to phase 3 with paralutamide. It's very interesting. I think, I'm not going to get into the results because I'm probably going to butcher it if I'm being completely honest. But it looks promising. It looks very, very promising. And in all honesty, the best part about that drug is the fact that you're probably not going to get any sexual side effects because you're not actually reducing DHT, which is fantastic. That's exactly what you want. Well, in my opinion, that's what I want. I don't want to be reducing hormones in my body. I don't want to be mucking around with hormones in my body. But if I can just stop the hormone from binding to one particular part, which is the hair follicle, I'm quite happy to try that drug. And if it's got a safety profile from what it seems to have from watching these guys on YouTube, I am so ready to try this drug. So, I'm hoping that this is going to be a great drug. Does that necessarily mean that that's going to be the cure to hair loss? Who knows, right? Only time will tell when more data comes out. But I think the one that a lot of people are anticipating that's going to be the cure in big quotation marks, right? So the cure being GT20029. Now, GT20029 is a topical AR targeting chimera, a PROTAC. So I probably butchered that. I probably got that wrong. Let me just read it. AR proteolysis targeting chimera, a PROTAC. That's a big word. I don't fully understand it, if I'm being perfectly honest. But from what I seem to understand from watching the YouTube videos and from what I've been reading, like I said, I think those guys are really informative and I think they're definitely worth a watch. So what GT20029 does is it actually doesn't reduce DHT and it doesn't bind to the AR receptor in the hair follicle. From what I seem to understand, it actually destroys or attacks the AR receptor in the hair follicle, right? Now, what does that mean? I'm not 100% sure. Like, it means that DHT is not going to have anything to essentially bind to, right? Because if there's no receptor in the hair follicle, well, where's the DHT going to go? It's just going to keep flushing through the whole body and it's going to attach itself somewhere else, but not in the hair follicle, which is what we want, right? But if there's no receptor at all in the hair follicle, does that mean we cure baldness? Now, I really hope that's the case. I don't know if that's going to be 100% of the solution, but it would be fantastic to see that. It'd be fantastic to see that this drug, there's finally a drug now that can cure baldness. But again, that's a big, big if, so it's hard to say. I can't really talk too much about GT20029. I don't really know much about the results that came out because I think it's going through phase 2 trials right now. It's just gone through phase 1 trials, but I don't remember the results off the top of my head, but a lot of people are claiming it to be the cure, or the cure is on its way. I think if you're looking at it from a more conservative point of view, I think it's just another tool that we're going to be able to use to fight hair loss. For those who don't want to use finasteride, who don't want to use dutasteride, and they want to take another option instead of reducing hormones, just letting the receptor or the AR receptor just get consumed by paralutamide or actually get completely destroyed or attacked. But I'm not exactly sure how that works. And essentially not letting the DHT bind to anything. So I would much rather go down that road. And I think that would be fantastic. And I really hope that comes out sooner rather than later. From what I seem to understand, it probably might be out in the next couple of years. That's awesome. Awesome news for people who are suffering with hair loss. And for people like me who started, losing their hair in their early 20s, it really sucks. So I really hope it comes out soon. So that way for people who were my age, because I started losing my hair probably at the age of 20 to 21 is when I started noticing I was losing my hair. I kind of had like in the middle part of my hair, I started noticing like a patch right in the middle of my head, right there. And it later then kind of receded on the hairline here. And you've probably seen in other videos of the podcast that my hairline's kind of slowly receding, as well as my crown as well. So, you know, being able to have these drugs for people who are young and upcoming who are not going to lose their hair, I think that's going to be fantastic. I really hope it works. I really hope this is the cure. But I think worst case scenario, if it's not the cure, it's going to be a great tool to have in the arsenal, in the fighting arsenal. So, yeah, it's just kind of my 2 cents about hair loss. And if anyone is watching this and they want to come on the show and they are an expert in hair loss and hair growth, I would like to talk to you guys. So I'd like to get some other opinions. I'd like to, you know, just kind of brainstorm and have a conversation. So yeah, without further ado, I think we'll get into the next part of this solo podcast, which was I found this story and this story is fucking mental. Like, I can't believe some things that you read on the internet, honestly, they're just like, this can't be real, right? So this is from heraldweekly.com. And it's called, I can't even see what the title is called, but it's like horrible bosses, right? And that was clickbaity enough for me, honestly. I had to read. I was like, I'm so curious because I've had my fair share of really bad bosses in the past. I'm not going to get into that, but I've had my fair share. And I read a couple of some of these text messages, which I'm going to read now in the podcast and just kind of go, whoa, like they're insane. Like I said, I've read them and I've kind of already reacted to them, but there's a couple that I haven't read. So hopefully do a bit of a live reaction here for the podcast. So let's talk about this one here. So there's a bit of a zoom. All right. Good evening. This is the boss, by the way. The boss is messaging the employee. Good evening. I was reviewing the cameras from our shift today and noticed that you were sitting on a stool for the majority of your shift. This is completely unacceptable behavior and we will be discussing it tomorrow before shift. Oh shit. I cleared it with lead. It just says lead. I think there's a name. I have 2 broken bones in my left foot. Doctor documented. Aside from that, I packed 240 plus UPH for the entirety of my shift, 12 full hours. I'm not sure if you're aware, but we do have a ranked list for packing displayed directly above our stations. My efforts earned me first place today. Good on you, mate. So just to be clear, my impressive performance was overshadowed by the fact that I wasn't uncomfortable enough while doing it. Fucking fair point. I'm really not appreciating your attitude. Well, fuck me dead, man. You know, you shouldn't have said, anyway. You could have just said the first part where it was cleared with another lead instead of being disrespectful. This type of behavior isn't going to get you anywhere here. Well, how did you expect him to react? Honestly, if I had a broken foot, and this guy actually going to work with a broken foot is insane. I wouldn't have gone to work with a broken foot. But he went to work with a broken foot, worked 12 hours, was the best performing employee in the company, and then gets a fucking huge turn on the head. How do you expect him to react, my friend? He's probably in pain. So what the fuck? Anyway, he goes, hey, thanks for wasting my precious off time with some garbage you didn't bother to investigate beforehand. Fair point. Seriously, 240 plus UPH, whatever that means, what you claim to be the pinnacle of performance there, I achieved it. And I get grief because I was sitting while doing it. You guys need to get your priorities straight. It is no wonder that you have such difficulties retaining staff. I'm not concerned with going anywhere there. It's a toxic environment with ignorant people at the helm. I won't be in tomorrow or ever again. Fuck, good on you, man. Fuck yeah, fuck this guy. We don't need to rush to you leaving. Oh, that was a fucking big back step, wasn't it? Let's talk in the morning and we can sort this out. No thanks. Have a good life. Eat a fucking dick. Fuck yeah, bro. Good on you, man. Good on you for standing your ground. Honestly, some bosses are just fuckwits. All right, let's go to number 2. Okay, this one, I have to admit, this one was pretty bad. But anyway, let's see where this goes. Boss, where are you at? Employee, question mark. Boss, you told Mark you could work night shift tonight. No, I did not. I told Mark I couldn't work Monday. You told him you couldn't work in the morning, but you could work normal hours. As you know, I found out yesterday my dad passed away. I'm going to go ahead and at least take the one day. I get a week off to mourn his death. I'm so sorry for any inconvenience this will cause you. Boss, my uncle died a few days ago. I lost my grandma. Stop being a victim. Dude, show some empathy. Far out, man. Like, I read that, and I honestly, if my boss had said that to me, I don't know how I'd react if I'm being completely honest. I think I'd be losing my shit as soon as I saw that message. But yeah, that's wild. That's wild. Mail me my check. I quit and go fuck yourself. Fuck, you took the high road, man. At least you just message. Oh, yeah, that is a fucking insane. That's insane. That's honestly insane. Okay, I haven't read this one. So let's see what this one's about. Hey, Becky. Hey, sorry, let me restart that. Hey, Becky cancelled on Saturday. I'll need you to come in and cover for her. So this is the boss, by the way. That's not my problem. Saturday is my day off, and I've been working 8 days straight and really need it. I'm sorry, we're short-staffed. I need you. I'm not coming in, so you have to. I'll see you Saturday. No, you won't. I'm not coming in. You can't make me. You sure you want to do this? You really want to put your health insurance on the line? Whoa, that's a big fucking claim. What are you going to do? Fire me? I know you are short-staffed after Hunter and Paige quit last week, and you were already short bartenders. I think she was meant to say short on bartenders. I don't accept that type of attitude. Last chance, I'll see you Saturday, or I won't see you again. Did you really just threaten me with health insurance? Whatever, I'm done with this. You can consider this my notice. I've had enough of your shit. Okay, that's pretty tame in comparison to the other ones. I think there's one more we might get into. Oh, did I just pass it? Here we go. Boss, yo, where you at? Seems pretty chill. I'm really sorry. I just got out of the hospital. I had an allergic reaction to my second shot and got really sick. Are you coming in? I will be in Monday. I apologize. I have some medical tests to go do. I can provide doctor's notes as well if you need those. What I needed was notice you were going to be out. Two no call, no shows in a row is considered job abandonment. Your PTO was not approved. It needs to be approved first, which it was not. If you're sick and can't get back to us, someone you know needs to. I don't know if I read that right. Was that it? Oh my God. That was the worst one. Why did I even read that? Yeah, I think that's it for this week, guys. I wanted to talk about something else, but I thought I didn't have enough information to kind of get into. I saw like the new Star Wars game that came out. I saw that at Adesanya, there's like some crazy story with him coming out right now about, I think, how he reacted in the after his win in the Octagon. I was going to do a bit of a reaction on that, but yeah, I just didn't get around to it. But I was quite happy just to really talk about the male pattern baldness, because that's a topic that I really like talking about. And I wanted to do a bit of a cheeky reaction, cheeky story. So I thought, fuck it. It is what it is. But I wanted to keep this short and sweet. I didn't want to do this too long. So I think I've hit the time pretty well, just creeping up on about 23 minutes-ish. So another cheeky plug. Guys, thank you all for just staying for this long in the podcast. If you haven't already, could you please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel? That's a Zafs Podcast. If you could also please, excuse me, follow the Spotify and give a 5-star review on the Spotify and the iTunes as well. That would be much appreciated. The more reviews and the more 5-star reviews I get, the more the reach gets pushed out there. And in actual fact, we hit 2 new countries. So I believe I've already hit, obviously, Australia. I've hit the US, which was an old one. I hit Malaysia. I've hit Portugal. I've hit the UK. And there's one other country that I can't remember off the top of my head, but we're starting to expand. It's starting to get there. You know, slowly and surely, we're going to try and keep growing this podcast and hopefully get better guests on the show. I'm going to start doing some interesting co-hosts. So try to do some like cool podcasts coming up. I've got an interesting one coming up in the next fortnight where I have veterans come on the show. Well, not veterans per se, not in the army, just old people. Well, not even old people, just, yeah, you'll see what I mean when you watch the episode. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be disrespectful, but you guys know what I mean. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in. I have an Instagram as well and a TikTok. So if you guys can follow that and provide a like, or, like my content on there, that'd be much appreciated. If you don't like the content, you don't have to like it, but any follow or any type of interaction would be much appreciated. So guys, thank you all for tuning in this week. I hope you really like this content, and I'll see you at the next video. I'll see you in a fortnight. See ya.